Today we're talking about valuation. I think it's important not only for investors but anybody who's going to buy property or somebody who wants to sell their property.
How much is your house worth? Because now it's easy for you guys to actually get emotional about this, right?
Sure. With what you said right now, emphasizing the importance of removing your emotions. Because once I remove my emotions and I want to sell this property as soon as possible, I'll actually follow these steps. I mean, this is one of the strategies that we use before buying a house.
Hello, beautiful people.
Hi everybody, so excited for today's topic.
So what are we talking about today now?
Before we even get there, let's introduce ourselves correctly.
Yes.
Non-wealth,
Profitable
professional
property.
investors.
It's all about the PP and the I, man. PPPI. Yes, I'm Lebu.
And I'm Neo.
Yes, and what are we talking about today, Neo? Give it, man. Give it to me.
Today we're talking about valuation. You know, in property, there's these property terms that might throw you off at times. You're like, what do you mean when you're saying valuation? Property valuation.
Yes.
property
So
valuation.
what do you think people mean when they say they property evaluation? What do they mean?
When we're talking about property valuation, we're referring to the value of the property.
Okay.
So I think it's important not only for investors but anybody who's going to buy property or somebody who wants to sell their property.
Yes.
So these three people need to know what property valuation is and how it actually impacts them.
Definitely, because now one of the questions that was asked, or could be asked even to you if you are a homeowner, right? How much is your house worth?
True.
How much is your house worth? Because now it's easy for you guys to actually get emotional about this, right?
True.
Because you've been living in this house for the past 25 years. You have these memories that go with your house, right? So now when someone asks you, how much is your house? You probably would say around 3,500,000, right? Until someone comes and evaluates your house, only to find out your house is only worth 500,000.
I mean, this happens more especially with homeowners, not necessarily with investors, but it also does happen to investors whereby you invested so much in the property and now you want to sell it at so much because of the investment, the capital investment that you did, not knowing that there's so many factors that actually contribute towards the property valuation. Property valuation, that means this process is done by the three, as we named: your property investor, somebody who wants to buy the property, or somebody who wants to sell their property. So where will this be done? Where will this process be done? At the beginning.
Definitely.
So at the beginning stage,
Yeah.
whereby before you even sell, or before you even think of selling yours, or before you even invest, that's where property valuation. So now the first one,
Before we go to the first one, they also talk about these three people, right? They could evaluate the property in three different ways,
True.
right? You can have three different values, but now at the end of the day, what matters is that how much is the market is actually going to buy it for, right?
True.
Because that's what the bottom line is. How much is someone willing to pay for that particular property? So now if you had valuated your property at 1.2 million, right? And someone actually says, the market actually says, no, the property is worth 800,000, right? Guess what? You're going to be able to sell it for 800,000.
True.
Yes, we can
And
go to the
before
first
that, the reason why the market is very important, because you have to think as a consumer.
Yes.
So now you'll be asking me as a consumer, how does the consumer look at the properties that are available? Why will the consumer buy this one instead of this one? So you also need to put on your consumer hat.
Definitely.
And I think now it's time that we go.
Let's go to number one. Number one,
we've got sales comp approach. So the first approach, as we said, is the sales comp approach. We're talking about, when I'm saying comp, I'm referring to your comparisons. So your sales comparison approach. So you look at the sales that were done in that particular area on the previous year. So now we're looking at real-time sales that were completed and that went through. So that will actually guide you around about, okay, how much can I sell my property? Second, while we're still on that one, you'll be comparing apples with apples. So now if my house has 3 bedrooms, a pool, and maybe a garage for 4 cars, that will accommodate 4 cars, I can't compare it with a house that has 1
Definitely.
bedroom and it doesn't have a pool. So now I need to look with my comps, I am going to look at what houses that were similar to my one that I want to sell.
Definitely. And because I love competition, right? Another comp that could be used is that which other houses are selling within the area, right? Within that particular area. Say for instance, we're looking at the West Rand, right? You look at how much, right, are the houses around selling for. Thereafter, you can actually go and book a viewing for that particular house and see what's different between your house and the house that's selling there, right? So now if the house that is selling there is more modernized and yours is more dated, obviously the modern one will actually sell more.
True.
Right? Considering price, right? So now once the modern one is actually more expensive, you know that you can get a competitive advantage by doing what? By decreasing the price, so that if the price is low, the people that are actually going to buy actually have that margin to actually fix the house and make it modern.
With what you said right now, emphasizing the importance of removing your emotions. Because once I remove my emotions and I want to sell this property as soon as possible, I'll actually follow these steps. But now, if I have high emotions and I'm emotionally attached to the property, and I'll be like, you know what, this house, I think if I can just put in a couple of new tiles, a new stove, and I'll sell it higher than what I was anticipating, it can actually stay in the market for something like 5 months later or 6 months, actually prolonging the process of selling that house. So we emphasize on removing your emotions.
Okay, now say for instance, right, I have a house, and I'm planning to move out of the house, and I want to actually sell this house, but I don't know what to actually do to actually check the price of that particular house, right? How would you go about looking at the comparisons? Would you first start at looking the comparisons for the houses that are selling, or the houses that have actually sold?
That's a good one. I mean, this is one of the strategies that we use before buying a house. So what we do is that we go into your Property 24 or other sources that actually help us with housings that are available on the market. That's when we'll see, okay, this is what's happening. Are there more of houses freestanding, or is more of your sectional types? And then we get a feeling of the price too, because with that you get the prices that are attached. But now you need to take it a step further and see how many successful sales were there. Because now don't forget, when you see the price that's there and with the ones that actually sold for it, you can get two different things. So in order to get the real time price is to see the successful closes of the houses.
Definitely.
So
and looking at that, right, just to add on what you were going to say, right, it's important for you not to look at 5 years back, right? Because as you know, that property really appreciates every year, right? Probably every year, depending on the developments going on around the particular area, right? So now it's important to at least look at 6 months, most 12 months, right? Look at the past 6 to 12 months that were actually sold. Approach number 2, right? So now approach number 2 is that who actually evaluates your house, your particular specific house that you actually live in, want to sell, or are trying to sell, right? So now the second part is that there are 3 people that actually going to evaluate your house, right? It's firstly the estate agent, right? They will tell you that if you are overpriced, below priced, or just right? The second people are the banks, right? The bank, if you're going to actually take a home loan, the bank will actually come through and look at the house and see if the property is actually bought at that particular price that it needs to be within the market. The third one is the private evaluator. A private evaluator is someone who actually comes to you and look at your property and actually tells you how much your property is, right? But now all these 3 people could give you 3 different values that could actually match your particular house, right? So now the most important thing, as we said in the beginning of the video, is that you need to know how much the market is actually willing to buy your house. So now when someone actually comes to evaluate your house, right, these are the secrets, right? So now when someone actually comes to your house, be sure that you not on your worst behavior, right? You actually welcoming, you actually telling them to, okay, come inside, what do you need, have everything that they're going to need in place, right? So now when you're taking them around the house, right, you need to make sure that your landscaping is on point, right? Don't say, no, I'll cut my grass next week. Make sure that when they actually come through, your grass is actually trimmed, your flowers are on the best, right?
The pool is operational.
Make sure that the pool is actually clean, right? The second thing that you have to do in the particular house, right, if you needed to paint the house, make sure that by the time the evaluator has come through. The paint, you have already painted it and it's already dry.
I mean, with the second approach, what I like from it is that you're removing yourself from this process of valuation. So hence that it can't be emotional, because you'll be getting feedback from external people.
Definitely.
You'll be getting feedback from experts. Now, what I liked is that you can get 3 different figures, and then if you also did your comps in terms of the approach number 1, you can get that price that you can agree to, that you're going to stick to. So it's very important you can actually link these two. Approach number 1, which will be your comps, and then number 2, which will be getting external evaluators to help you with the evaluation, that they can give you advice.
Yes.
They can tell you, okay, no, rather fix this thing and then let's rather come back later on, and then
Definitely.
to avoid, because what's going to happen that if you don't fix particular things with this house, and then when the market comes now, we open our house and then people will be like pointing out things that, no man, I can't pay this amount because of 1, 2, 3. Then you have to negotiate at that point in time. So if you do not want to negotiate, you will listen to your experts.
Your eval. Thank you for tuning in. Long Wealth signing out. See you next week, Friday, 11 o'clock.
So next time somebody says valuation, property valuation, now we already know that they're just referring to the value of the property.
Without the emotions.
Emotions away, minus emotion.
Please do subscribe below. Please do subscribe below. Hit the notification button.
Would appreciate that, guys. Thumbs up.
Long Wealth.